546. Today's going to be a good one because we're going to be talking about agency and other mandatory disclosures. And I've been trying to come up with more and more examples and more analogies as I'm studying for the real estate exam because I just wanted to see what they would teach because after interviewing guests for 3 years on the Affordable Housing podcast, I was trying to think about, man, I just wish someone would have sat me down to explain all these concepts once and for all. And I thought, hey, what better way to learn something or master something than to simply learn how to teach these same concepts, these same terminologies to my own kids. And the best way I thought to do it was to come up with some random analogies. And I'm always looking for better analogies. So if you have any good ideas, leave a comment down below with analogies that you think might be better because I'm just trying to be a better dad. And I think for us as parents, all we're trying to do is leave behind and give our kids that little head start, right? Information that we wish we would have had at the beginning. So let's talk about disclosures today, right? And in simpler words, right? Disclosure is just, and when it comes to agency relationships, it just really talks about how your real estate agent must represent you and the information that they're legally required to share with you. Now, whether you're a home buyer, a seller, or just an investor, understanding these rules will save you a ton of headaches later. Okay. Now, when you talk about agency, let's stay at that very high level, right? Agency in real estate is just a fancy way of saying who is legally representing whom. And when you hire a broker or a real estate agent, right, you're the principal. They're your agent, and they have to act on your behalf in negotiations. They have to have your best interest. They have a fiduciary duty towards you, acting in your best interest, and have to have loyalty towards you so that they're not disclosing information that they're not supposed to, right? I like to think of agents in real estate similar to sports agents, right? We hear about right now some of our most famous basketball players are LeBron James, right? Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, Jason Tatum, all these folks, Jalen Brown, Drew Holiday. Can you tell I'm a Celtics fan? Now, it's the agent that negotiates the deals, right? They negotiate the contracts, the terms for the athlete on behalf of the athlete because the athlete trusts the agent to look after their best interests, not the other teams. Same concept in real estate. Now, when you have your agent, right, you want your agent to act in your best interest. They have to keep your information private and share all the details that they think that will help you make an informed choice when you're trying to buy a home. All right. So if you're buying, that means they want to highlight the potential pitfalls of that property, right? If you're selling, that means they want to market your home effectively and get you the best price or the best terms and give you better surety of close, right? I like to think of it as what's a good one for a kid? If you have a trusted babysitter, right? Someone that you rely on to protect your child. That's very important. Similarly, an agent should protect your financial and legal well being. Very important. Okay, now when it comes, I probably looked at three courses and they always talk about how important it is to disclose your agency, and especially if you have dual agency, right? So there are a few ways to represent people. A seller's agent is loyal to just a seller, and a buyer's agent is just helping the buyer. But there can be dual agency, and that's when the same agent or the brokerage represent both sides in a deal. And that requires you to have full disclosure and agreement from everyone. And you can't share information because that could put you, especially as an agent, in a very difficult position if you're revealing information that might benefit or overly benefit one side, right? Like if you have a referee that's coaching both teams, there's a conflict of interest, right? Like which side is the referee gonna? How's the referee gonna stay fair? Sometimes, right? It's hard because you're coaching both teams and you want both teams to win, right? But it's okay. It's still legal as long as everyone's aware of the potential issues and they consent to that relationship. So next up, let's talk about some mandatory disclosures. These are things that the seller must reveal, right? As seller, you got to share facts about the home's condition that could affect a buyer's decision, right? And this typically includes a transfer disclosure statement. And that will list any known defects, such as if there was a roof leak, right? Or if there is any environmental hazards, like being in a high fire zone, brush fire zone, very, very big, especially if you're in California. You want someone that's buying your home to go into it eyes wide open about what they're buying. All right. Now, other disclosures that you want to think about is sometimes if your home was built before a certain year, there are usually disclosures for lead based paint. And that's usually for homes built before 1978. Typically, not don't quote me on this, right? This is not legal advice. This is not investment advice. I'm not an attorney. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. I'm just simply going through all the information that I've learned and crammed and try to pick out the most important pieces that I thought you would want to learn, especially for my kids. All right. So if you're buying a home in a homeowners association, an HOA, typically you want to look at, hey, the CCNRs, the financial statements, and just see and assess how healthy the reserves are for that HOA community. Because if they don't have no reserves and there ends up being a big repair, then you might be in a position where you have to get a special assessment and you got to pay extra money out of your own pocket to cover a big expense, right? If you're in a hazard zone, such as if you're near wildfires that we talked about, or floods, or you're in a flood zone, you should disclose that because sometimes it's very hard to get insurance in the flood zone, or the deductible is very high, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to make sure you understand this, right? Because I mean, if you are living in a house that is on the end of the street that tends to flood in heavy rains, you got to get a heads up like, hey, maybe you need some waterproof boots, right? Maybe you need some sandbags. No surprises means much less drama later. And keep that on top of your mind because you got to learn how to preserve your energy. Now, let's say a seller forgets to mention that there's a defect or an agent fails to disclose a conflict of interest. They can face a lawsuit, and buyers can seek damages or they can even cancel the deal if they discover some hidden issues. So you got to make sure you understand what, even though they talk about material facts, it's not really in your best interest to determine what is considered a material fact to a buyer because it could be subjective sometimes. Right? It's almost, what's a good analogy? Let's say you were selling a laptop or letting someone borrow your laptop. And if you don't tell them, hey, if you don't keep the laptop plugged in, the battery's going to die after 5 minutes. So that's a pretty big detail, right? And if they paid you money for it, or they were doing a big homework assignment on it and they lost all their work because in 5 minutes it shut down, they might feel cheated. They might feel angry at you. It's the same concept, right? That it's in your best interest. Honesty is the best policy. So as you look for your agent, whenever you go buy a home, look for all these details, right? Just like if you were getting a diagnosis from a doctor and you wanted a second opinion, you probably want to make sure you get a second opinion, right? Especially if you weren't sure the first diagnosis was accurate or what their recommendation. You just want to weigh your options. So you want to have a thorough check, just like of your property, like you would for your own body. All right. All right. I hope this was helpful, everybody. Have an amazing Friday. I always enjoy doing these lives and I always enjoyed looking for different ways to explain these concepts because they are so, sometimes people just make it sound way harder, way using way fancier words than they need to. And if we were to just take the time and explain all these words to people, then we don't have to worry so much and try to put up a facade that we know more than we do because it doesn't help anyone. When you're able to explain it to somebody, that's when it helps someone. All right. Especially our kids. So hopefully this was helpful, everybody. Again, if you have good analogies, please let me know what they are for explaining to your kids. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 547. Have a good one, everybody.